Jumbo, fellow adventurers, Mike Dooley. The question today is, if we are creators, what's God's role? Great question. Thank you for asking your questions below on Facebook or Instagram. To peel this onion, if you will, I've got to state that there's an implication here, with no offense to the great question or the questioner, there's an implication here that reality is something other than what it is. The question is therefore fatally flawed. But to back up and go through it step by step, make it really simple. Yes, I teach, and many, many others teach, that we are full-time, 24/7 creators. We create through our focus. Our thoughts become the things and events of our lives. I take it so far as to say that there are zero mitigating factors. Not karma, not destiny, not ancient spiritual contracts, and most certainly not a God who picks and chooses who gets what, when, and where. So the question is really well founded when it's coming from a world that believes God's an angry white man, or that believes God is out there. And if you believe God is out there and we are down here, and now I come along with others and tell you that you're a full-time creator, well then what does that leave God doing? What's the role of God if we're creating? Implies that there's two different entities. Implies that we are not of God, by God, pure God. So here's the gig. In ways I will never be able to explain from within time and space, God has always been. Okay, we want to say there was a beginning, and what was before the beginning. And if there's a God now, that would mean through dichotomy. What? I hit mute. Sorry about that. So the question that fries my mind is that, we have God now. We know that there is a God. We can see the intelligence everywhere. And so the implication is at one point there was no God. That's where the brain fries. I can't fathom how we can even be here right now. How could God exist? This is the trippiest question of all. But perhaps it doesn't need to be answered to get our groove on. We can see with our physical senses and with what we feel on our heart that there is love and intelligence in every corner of the physical universe. There is symbiotic relationships. There are physical laws that work in concert with one another. There is just beauty everywhere, particularly on planet Earth, and particularly when you look into the eyes of someone else. So there's no question that there is divine intelligence. Where did that come from? Okay. We can surmise that God does not have a tool shed and lumps of clay where he makes stuff out of things that are not God. There's only God. God is everywhere, always at once. Every mote of dust, every grain of sand, every planet, and the vacuum between them is pure, radiant, divine intelligence. And that means we are too. We are pure God. And what can we deduce, while there's so much we can't, through observing life and the world around us? It's filled with meaning, that there's nonstop expansion, that there's unending growing, that there's love and adventure non-stop. We could therefore deduce that these are the traits of the immortal. This is God's consciousness. This is God's terrain. It's not a done deal. It's forever expanding. Just as we want to grow, clearly, divine intelligence wants to grow. And there was a time prior to our existence, okay, brain freeze because we're using time references and time's an illusion, but prior to our existence, prior to your birth, prior to planet Earth, if you will, we can realize that divine intelligence was still on this kick of growing and expanding, adventuring. Why? Because it could, because it's there, because it's fun. So in the adventuring that is divine intelligence, there was this incredibly cool idea to create these illusions of time, space, and matter. Fleeting lies. Because the truth is, there's no separation, there's no delineation, there's no contrast, there's just God. But by believing in the lies of here versus there, now versus later, have versus have not, holy crap, now it's game on. Now you're here, you want to go there. Now you're feeling lonely and you want friends. Now you have not and you want to have. Now you have desire because you're believing in the lies. You can only believe in the lies if you take God's mind and squish it down to less than a pinhead. And there you have the human brain. Way less than a pinhead. Okay? But by having that little pinhead of focus, believing in here versus there, game on. Adventures begin. And now you can feel lost and then be found. Now you can feel sick and then be healed. Now you can be broke and then be rich. Talk about an adventure where we forget that we're really of the divine, but we still have all the same powers of the divine because we are God particles, pure sparks of divine intelligence, because nothing can't be God. We are God's opportunity to explore and adventure in ways that never could have happened without us, without our limited, flawed focus, believing in the lies of here, now, then, later, etc. Again, why? Because it's fun. Why? Because we could. Why? I mean, while there are suicidal people, almost nobody, not even the hungry person, not even the destitute person, not even the homeless person wants to give up their life. Because it's so beautiful. And there's always hope. And there are always infinite possibilities. Talk about a game. Talk about an adventure. I mean, it's just so rich. So you ask, why would God want to be here? That's why. Otherwise, God's everywhere, always at once. It's a little bit boring. It's a little bit, hey, there's another way I can look at this. There's another way I can experience this. There's another way I can create and witness my creations. You are one of those fingers of God where you are creating 24/7 and you're witnessing it 24/7 and you don't realize that you're creating it. Again, what an adventure. So now that we have the gig under wraps, with a billion trillion questions a brain could never answer, maybe we don't need to answer it to live our lives, to follow our heart, to be driven by passion, to be moved by fear, because it's all happening inside of the heart of God. And we're going to wake up in the blink of an eye and be like, oh my God, that was so real. Oh my God, I thought I was Mike Dooley. Oh my God, I thought I was in New Zealand. Oh my God, I thought whatever. Let's go back. Let's do it again. Why? Because we'll be safe. Even when we lose, we win. Because nothing can tarnish an eternal being. So the question might be, what is our role? To follow our heart, to do what we want to do, to see what happens. There is no destiny. Let's incarnate billions and billions and billions of times, 7.5 billion times. That's how many living people are on earth right now. We're all connected. We're all one reincarnational family. When one falls, we all fall. When one soars, we all soar. When one feels love, we all feel love. So let's go there, and I'll experience reality as me, and you experience it as you. And everyone else is doing a totally different performance, and all of it adds up to God. So that's your role in life, to use your inherent divine powers to bust a move, rock and roll, fall in love, be in service, play good music, watch tune-ups, invent a computer, go sailing, catch a breeze. It's so beautiful. And there is no division between us and God. Dreams do come true. They come true all the time. You're a dream that came true. You're one of God's dreams come true. You are who God most wanted to be and who God still most wants to be. Post your questions below on Facebook or Instagram, and they might be my talking point tomorrow. Thanks for letting me do this. Lots of love from Orlando, Florida. Thank you, Mark and Kathy and Sharon and Judy on Facebook, and JP and Wise Woman and the Funny Witch on Instagram. Tally ho, and every best wish.